It's been 192 days since Overwatch's last new hero, and 290 days since its last new map. What's up everybody? Overwatch is currently in the midst of its greatest content drought ever. But why is this happening? How long will it last? And when can we expect the next big content drop to bring back hype for the game? This is Master Ian Gamer, and let's get into it. Before I dive into today's video, I wanted to mention real quick that if you subscribed to my channel in the past, make sure that you're still subscribed as of now. YouTube has been up to their usual antics again lately, so I just want to make sure that you're all still able to get notifications for my new videos. And if you're new to my channel, then I hope you consider subscribing as well. Anyways, on to the video. As I mentioned in the opening, at the time of me making this video, it has been 192 days since Overwatch's most recent new hero, and 290 days since its most recent new map. This of course isn't counting the workshop exclusive maps which were added just recently, although I will be talking about those later on in the video. For now though, I'm talking about the big hype tentpole content which gets players reinvested into the game, the standard rotation new maps, and of course, playable heroes. For much of Overwatch's lifespan, new maps and heroes released on a fairly set schedule, each released once every 4 months, and were spaced out so that every 2 months we got one of those two main forms of content, with seasonal events filling in the gaps in between. But that cycle fell apart around the middle of 2019. Sigma released a month later than usual for new heroes, which at the time was really no biggie, but then he turned out to be the last new addition from either camp for what is now the better half of a year. And the effects of that are really starting to be felt. As someone who's heavily ingrained in the Overwatch community, I can tell just from experience that people's interest in the game has been pretty heavily slipping. But if you want some more tangible evidence for this, then just take a look at Google Trends for the search term Overwatch. Here's the history of Overwatch from the past 5 years. See all these periodic spikes in search activity? They almost always correspond to the release of some significant kind of new content, be it a new hero, map, event, or something similar. Zooming in on the time span between now and the start of 2019, we can easily point out the specific spikes in their corresponding new content additions. Let's see, we got Baptiste, Archive/Havana, Anniversary, Sigma, Halloween Terror, and of course, BlizzCon 2019. But notice anything different following BlizzCon? That's right, no spikes. Even events like Winter Wonderland and Lunar New Year have had negligible impacts in what is otherwise a concerningly flat period of Overwatch search. And what is it exactly that has been missing from this same time period? That's right, new maps and heroes. Now to be fair, new heroes do carry much more weight than maps. While players certainly enjoy both, heroes have always been the very backbone of Overwatch as a franchise. They're the real tentpoles that hold up the game, and especially for the casual player base and those who maybe don't even enjoy playing the game itself, new hero releases were always the big thing people could rally behind. However, the absence of both heroes and maps plays into the crisis Overwatch has been experiencing, which is its absolute absence of new content. Now, I talked about this a bit in a video I did a couple weeks ago where I outlined Blizzard's plan to save Overwatch, and so far they've been doing that by focusing on improving the competitive experience of the game, especially when it comes to the higher skill level players. Features like map pools, hero pools, and more frequent and aggressive balance changes all help to mix up the meta and reduce gameplay stagnation. And while these changes may be great at what they're aiming to achieve, they do very little to alleviate the problems hitting the vast majority of the player base, which is that there just isn't any exciting new content. To be fair, Blizzard has been making some effort here. We are still getting events with new cosmetic items after all, and there's even been some new twists on old event game modes. But as we see in the Google Trends, those just aren't having much of an impact anymore. While events in the past have garnered their own search spikes, the absence of tentpole content additions have caused players to lose interest in the game to such a degree that they don't even bother coming back when there are new cosmetics to get. After all, who cares about unlocking skins when the gameplay has become so stale that you don't even want to bother logging in anymore? But why has Overwatch staggered in this way? Why has Blizzard severed the flow of content that was so clearly the life essence keeping the game afloat? Well, us ravenous fanbots already know the answer, but for the rest asked of you who've maintained a more healthy relationship with the franchise, the answer is Overwatch 2. At BlizzCon 2019, the devs confirmed that Overwatch 2 would be launching with multiple new maps and heroes. And while we might all like to think that Jeff can just reverse Thanos snap these new maps and heroes into existence, the reality of the situation is much more devastating. Going by the fact that so far Blizzard has been able to consistently pump out new maps and heroes every 4 months, and they're now planning to release multiple of both at the time of the sequel's release, well, you can probably do the math to know what that means for the months leading up until then. Basically, Blizzard is holding back content for Overwatch 2, which otherwise would have been gradually released at the same pace we've seen up until Sigma. While their internal hero and map development process is probably much faster than just one every 4 months, especially after hiring more developers for the sequel, building up the Overwatch 2 roster will take development time away from anything they're working on for Overwatch 1. So far, they have confirmed that there will be at least one new hero released still before the launch of Overwatch 2, but considering that there is still a very real possibility that the new game won't come out until at least 2021, one new hero between now and then might not be the most sustainable content release schedule. We have seen the introduction of what might be regarded as substitute content though, such as the hero challenges, which introduce a few new cosmetics alongside a chunk of new story. But while nice, these don't come close to having the same impact as a new map or hero. The reason that these two things are so monumental is that they first and foremost offer massive new gameplay potential. These give players something to do and experience. New heroes have new gameplay mechanics, and new maps offer new situations and strategies in which to play said heroes. New skins may be pretty, but they do nothing to affect the way the game is actually played. Again though, Blizzard may be trying to substitute this absence of gameplay content with the Workshop. Looking at the timing of the Workshop's addition and how it immediately preceded the current Overwatch drought, it's safe to say that Blizzard's anticipation of the current content crisis played some role in them deciding to release this custom game mode tool. If they won't be giving us new maps and heroes to play with, then at least we can design our own game modes to keep us busy until the release of Overwatch 2. As time goes on, they've even been gradually expanding the features of the Workshop to include things like dummy bots and custom maps. However, while the Workshop is certainly a great feature to have in-game, regardless of other content being released, one cannot overlook the strategic timing in which Blizzard has introduced it. But regardless of intention, the Workshop will always fall short of the impact of a new map or hero because of story. What's one thing that all official new maps and heroes inherently carry with them? New Overwatch lore. Whether it's someone like Sombra opening up an entire unlikely to ever be resolved conspiracy web, or a mutant hamster who has little to no bearing on the events of anything, they each have their own interesting backstories and ties to other characters, locations, and factions. Even maps offer loads of story content. Some may be far more obscure than others, but they still have a ton of detail fleshing out the world of Overwatch and all of its interesting characters. Therefore, story is the second big thing after gameplay, which Blizzard is failing to uphold without new maps and heroes. Sure, we have the short stories tied to some of the hero challenges, but so far those have been unsatisfying in comparison to meeting a brand new hero or getting to visit a brand new location. The short stories may be good for a one-time read, but they just aren't an adequate substitute. They just feel like piecemeal build-up to whatever story we'll end up getting in Overwatch 2. It's funny to think about how ever since day one, people have complained about not getting enough Overwatch story, and during that time, we were just taking for granted the story inherent to each new map and hero we got along the way, and now we don't even have that. But I wouldn't be Master Ian Gamer if I didn't at least half-heartedly try to add an optimistic spin on the end of everything. And this time, at least we have Overwatch 2 to look forward to. I'll be honest, it's hard to find a granule of sunshine in these trying times. If you're a competitive player, then it's actually a great time to be an Overwatch fan. Once hero pools hit live servers, competitive will arguably be the most enjoyable it's been in ages, at least for those high up on the skill ladder. For everyone else, however, these are admittedly hard times. If you're like me and find yourself continuing to enjoy the same gameplay loop that Overwatch has had for the past 6 months, then it won't be too bad. Thankfully, truthfully, Overwatch is actually a pretty fun game on its own and well designed on a fundamental level. Of all the current major shooter games on the market today, I think it's actually safe to say that Overwatch is one of the ones most capable of enduring a content crisis like this, as it has a fairly extensive backlog of established characters and story for players to remain invested in. Even if players leave for a time, they'll be likely to return once the flow of content does pick up again because of its memorable and lovable maps and heroes. That's something which many other games simply can't compete with. So for those of you who have already swapped to playing other games or plan to do so in the near future, I do hope you'll feel ready to come back once Overwatch finally does have something new to offer. And with any luck, that time will be sooner rather than later. Anyways, this has been my analysis of the current Overwatch content crisis, but I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments down below. How do you plan to weather the content drought? And what content in particular are you most looking forward to? As always, be sure to leave a like if you enjoyed this video and share it with your friends if you really liked it. Subscribe, slap that bell, follow me on Twitter, and join my Discord server to never miss any of my future Overwatch content. This is Master Ian Gamer signing off, and until next time, have a great day.